Good morning. My name is Tricia from the Culinary Command Post, and we're going to show you how to make Snickerdoodles. Basically, when you make cookies, most of the ingredients are the same, just maybe different measurements. So what we need first is we need half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick of butter, and we're going to mix those in our mixer. And you want to use softened butter, not cold butter, not hard butter. You want to use soft butter. So if you forget to leave it out at room temperature, you can put it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. And you don't need it melted, you just need it soft. So half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick softened, and then half a cup of white sugar, and you're going to mix that in with the butter. And then another half cup of brown sugar. You're going to mix those up first in the stand mixer. Just enough until you get it combined, the sugar and the butter combined. Okay. And then after that, you're going to mix up your dry ingredients. So our dry ingredients is going to be your flour, which is 1.5 cups of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. And what cream of tartar is, this is what it looks like in the store, and you can use a lemon juice as a substitute. And this is over where the seasoning is in the baking aisle. If you can't find it, I had trouble finding it, but that's where it is in the seasoning, the baking aisle by the seasoning section is where it is. So we just need a 1/4 teaspoon of the cream of tartar, and we're going to mix it around a little bit in our flour. And then you need half a teaspoon of baking soda. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You're going to whisk it all together. Alright, so we've already mixed up our half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick of softened butter, our brown sugar, and our white sugar, which is both white sugar is half a cup, and then the brown sugar is 1/3 cup. Now we're going to add 1 egg and then half a teaspoon of vanilla to the butter and sugar mixture. You can mix it up slightly if you want on the egg. And then we're going to add the egg and then half a teaspoon of vanilla. And half a teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm going to lift it up so we can spread it around a little. Mix that on low. Okay, and I'm just going to stop it for just a second. I'm going to scrape down the sides of the bowl, make sure everything's mixed in. And I'm using the whisk attachment on the Snickerdoodle cookies. Mix it on low again. Okay, and so then now we're going to add our dry ingredients, which is the baking soda, the cream of tartar, the salt, and the flour. And so we have 1½ cups of the all-purpose flour mixed in with the other dry ingredients. And I'm going to take this off, and sometimes it's easier when you're adding flour just to lift it up before you add it. So I'm going to pour that in. I think I'm going to pour in half and then pour in the other half. Make sure you start it on low so it doesn't throw flour everywhere. Scrape down the sides again and then add the remaining dry ingredients. Once you get it mixed up just for a couple minutes, as long as there's no flour showing in the dough, then you know that it's already mixed up properly. Alright, and then we're going to add, and you don't have to do this, but I'm going to do that for my cookies, is I'm going to add in a 1/2 cup of cinnamon chips, which I also found in the baking aisle, and then a 1/2 cup of cream cheese chips. So I have a 1/2 cup each, and it just adds a different level of flavor to the Snickerdoodles. So I'm just going to pour those in, and I'm actually going to just fold those into the dough. And how you fold is you just go down the center and go clockwise. Down the center and go clockwise, and that's how you get all your ingredients mixed into the dough. Now, the key to letting the dough sit in the refrigerator for probably, we're going to let it sit in there for about an hour, and then once we let it sit in there, then we're going to scoop the dough out and put it on the cookie sheet. And I'm going to use not the tiny cookie scoop, but the one above that, because I feel like the tiny one makes them too thin, and the biggest one that they make is they spread too much. So that's the one we're going to use. All right. And you don't want to mix it too much because you don't want to overwork it. And this is how it should look. It has the cinnamon chips and the cream cheese chips in it. All right, so we're going to put it in a bowl. And we're going to let it sit in the bowl inside the refrigerator, because if you chill the dough, then it's not going to spread as much. Okay, so we're going to set the dough in the fridge for about an hour, because I don't want it to spread when it's baking, because then it makes really thin cookies. All right. Alright, we're going to set this in the fridge for about an hour. So we just got the Snickerdoodle cookies out of the fridge. They've been in there an hour. The reason we put them in the fridge for an hour is because if it's chilled dough, it's not going to spread as much in the oven. I just turned on the oven. It's 300 degrees. And before we start rolling the dough, we're going to mix 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and also 4 tablespoons of sugar in a bowl. And then we're going to scoop out our dough and then roll them in balls and dip them in the cinnamon and the sugar mixture. Just mix it up in the bowl. Just like that. Okay. So I've got a scoop. It's not the smallest scoop. It's the one up from that I'm going to use. And I'm just going to scoop. And the dough's going to be a little hard because it's been in the fridge for an hour. So scoop it up and press it into the bottom. And then just put it on the cookie sheet. And then once we get them all scooped out about the right size, then we're going to roll them in that cinnamon sugar mix and then put them in the oven. So I'm basically just using the scoop to get them the same size so they cook the same. And I just kind of smash them into the cookie scoop like that. And you want to try to keep them about 3 inches apart. This recipe here makes about 12 cookies. I would double it because they taste really good, and 12 probably isn't going to be enough. I'm just kind of packing the cookies into the scoop. Make sure I get about the same size. Should be able to fit 12 cookies on this sheet. This is a good cook sheet. I really like these cookie sheets because they don't burn the bottom of the cookie. Have some kind of moisture barrier in the bottom built in, and that's why your cookies don't burn. And you can probably get these online. I actually got mine at the VA hospital in Muskogee in their little shop that they have. Alright, so there's my dozen cookies. This actually makes more than a dozen, actually. It probably makes 2 dozen cookies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly wet my hands. And I'm just going to grab a ball, roll it so it's more uniform in shape. I'm going to toss them in the sugar and cinnamon mixture. And also by them being wet, they don't stick to my gloves. That's why I wet my gloves. And then also it's gathering more cinnamon sugar easier in the bowl. I think why this recipe made more than 1 dozen, it's going to make 2 dozen, is because I did add the cinnamon chips and the cream cheese to the Snickerdoodles. So if you don't add that, it's probably going to be about 1 dozen. Alright, just like that. So now we're going to roll them in our cinnamon and sugar. mixture. Get them all covered up, and then we're going to set them back on here 3 inches apart. And I just kind of toss them in there, toss them around. Apart. Now we're going to stick these in the oven. We're going to start at 12 minutes because every stove is different. Every oven's different. So you're going to have to watch them until you figure out how long you need to put them in your oven. Alright, they're 3 inches apart. Now we're going to put them in our oven for about 12 minutes. And then we're going to work on our second batch. Check the cookies real fast. Yes, they're staying together. See how they're not spreading like a flat pancake. And it's all about putting them in that fridge for an hour. You can put them in there for 30 minutes, but they'll spread at 30 minutes. You can put them in there for an hour and then cook them for 12 minutes. We got about 3 more minutes on this.